Welcome to LollieTasking with ADHD. I am your host, Dr. Lullaby, a multi-passionate mom of three, a physician, and an ADHD life coach because, like most of you amazing women listening, I have ADHD. Join me as we chat about how ADHD affects our lives and learn strategies to help us all thrive, not just survive, with ADHD so we can live the life we want while accomplishing all our goals. Let's get started.
Welcome to LollieTasking with ADHD. Again, I am Dr. Lullaby, a physician and ADHD trained life coach for easily distracted women who are just so tired of being stuck. Okay, so before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to Miss Tish Xavier. She said, as a business leader, ADHD is my superpower. I love learning new ways to leverage this. Dr. Lulladay has great topics that are so valuable. So I just want to thank you for leaving a great review. You are the reason why I do this. And for those of you guys listening, if you want to get a shout out, don't forget to leave a review. The more you share, the more people know about our podcast. Okay? So, before we get started, I just want to let you know today is not a solo podcast. I have my dear friend here. Her name is Amelie Leveille. She is a ADHD trained life coach and a mom of three, and she has her own coaching practice as well. I'm going to let her introduce herself very well, but I am so excited to have her here. And today we're going to talk about motherhood and ADHD. Like, why is it that it seems like a lot of us, our ADHD just magnified when we became moms? But let's go ahead and welcome Miss Emily. Welcome.
Hi. I'm happy to be there.
Thank you. Do you mind telling the Lolly Taskers a little bit about you and we can just get into it.
Hi there. First, I am Emily. I am 40 years old. I am a mom of three. I am married to a doctor for
Mhm.
20 years. No, not 20 years, 14
20
years.
years.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've been together for 20 years. Um, and I am an ADHD life coach and business coach. And it's my second career because before I was a personal coach, like I was training people.
Wow, that's interesting. So,
Yep.
this podcast is about women who are professionals and who have ADHD. Can you give us just maybe like a 2-minute summary of your ADHD journey and how you were diagnosed and how it showed up in your career and what your first career was and how it shows up now in your coaching career?
Yeah, I figured out actually I learned I had ADHD last year at 39 because of my kids. My kids got
Mm,
diagnosed and when I searched what's ADHD actually, I was like it blew my mind. That's my life story. So I
mhm,
didn't know before. So my before I went when I was younger, I always had this. I realize now I had this inattentive ADHD. So I
mhm,
am good at school. I was good at school, but then at a certain point, I struggled because it was getting harder and harder. I had to study more, and I had to keep my mind busy. So I worked a lot on the side. I
mhm,
went to university. I did a degree in sports science, and now I see that I didn't go where I wanted to go at first because I failed my math when I was younger. When I was in high school here, because I live in Quebec. So here in Quebec, the way we do is if you want to go into science in the university, you have to find a certain way. You have to do a certain way in high school, and I couldn't because I failed my math because the way I think is different from the way the teacher wanted us to think, and
mhm,
it blocked me. So after not doing my science, I had to find a way to go to university because I wanted to go without
Mhm.
going really in the ones the programs I really wanted. If I knew I had ADHD and I I got help for that, probably I
Mhm.
would have gone in, I don't know, psychology or something that needed higher grades, not because I couldn't do them, but because of the way I was disorganized and incapable of, why do I have to learn this? I just didn't do it. So
Yeah.
then it showed up all my life.
Yeah, I feel like that's the story of a lot of us professional women who have ADHD, right? Because it's not that we don't accomplish it, because people are so shocked when they hear I have ADHD.
Yeah.
It's not like we don't accomplish it. We just take way more time than is necessary to accomplish it. And also we don't have that impulsive attitude to just like, okay, let me just do it. There's so many barriers that stand in the way. So why do you think that ADHD shows up more in working moms, or moms, I should say, minus non-moms?
Yeah, well, first of all, there's a relationship with the hormones. The hormones
Hmm.
are really challenging our brains, and so there's a change of hormones when you become a mom, but also
Hmm.
like the main reason I think is because you get way more responsibility. Probably
Hmm.
if you when I was before I was a mom, like I was just in charge of myself and some of the stuff with my husband, but then you get the kids who need you, and the way that you need to take charge of the kid and everything that has to be done, not just the house, but everything that has to be done for or with
Falls on
the
you.
kids falls on the
Hmm.
mom. And it gets really hard, but because then you get into this spiral of denying yourself because you're feeling that you can't keep up with all the
Hmm.
appointments and all of the stuff, and it's so hard. So then you start to have negative talk and negative, like, yeah, mindset, and then it's getting, as you go, it gets harder and harder. It doesn't get easier, with kids. It's just different.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that negative mindset, to be honest, is one of the main things that have messed up a lot of people with ADHD.
Yeah,
They just have
sure.
a negative mindset that, I'm going to be in this forever. I'm going to lose this forever. Do you have a short tip or tricks that can help me? And I always said no. A lot of time it's usually getting getting the kids, like, okay, so for example, as a mom, right, when you're a
Hmm.
mom, you have like, you have this, you have that, you have all this thing gonna, everybody depends on you.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So with ADHD, for me, I feel like as a mom, you don't sleep, right?
Nope.
You don't have time for yourself. You now have to like cater for everybody else. You need structure, you need guidelines. So of course your ADHD symptoms is going to show off more,
Yep.
because now you're expected to do even more. Would you agree?
I agree totally. And also the way society is built right now is, being a mother is very lonely. The society expects you to be capable of doing all of that alone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very hard for us, for ADHDers, because I personally think that you need an exterior structure, someone who's going to guide
Mm-hmm.
you, like getting organized, planning and stuff like that, which are the stuff we dread a lot. And it needs to be done when you have kids, but then when you don't have anyone to rely on to do that, to help you doing it, then all you do is kind of try to, like, lessen the fires, or just try
Mm-hmm.
to you actually, I remember when I was a young mom, actually I just tried to survive. I couldn't even eat. Like, I didn't have even
Yep.
time to eat or to take a shower. I felt so overwhelmed and behind and stressed out that the only thing I could do is hold my baby and try to survive my day. Really.
Mm.
That's all I could do.
Yeah, as a young mom especially, right? Like it's a new territory that you go into.
Jesus, yes.
Right.
Yep.
We're thinking about it and we're having PTSD right now, right?
Oh my
Um,
God. Like I look at myself when I had my first daughter and I was like, I was a mess. I was a mess, and all I could do is trying to survive my days. And I realized that when I had my second one and my third one, it it got easier, not because I knew, but because I had a sort of a
a
structure
structure.
because
Hmm.
of my oldest one, which had to eat and take a nap and blah blah blah,
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
because she had a structure, I kind of kept it for the other one. And as like I thought that it would be harder having more kids, but actually my third one was my easiest one because my daughters were in school. So I had
Mm.
to follow a schedule. Now I realize that. At the moment I didn't really
You're
I
like,
didn't
what
really
is this?
understood what was going on. But now that I know that I have ADHD, I know that I need a structure, and my third one was easier because I had to get my daughter to kindergarten every day. She had to go. So I had to find a way to make it work. So I had to do, and it worked. Actually,
So you had a deadline you had to meet.
yes, and
Mm.
actually it's the baby season I enjoyed the most because I was kind of into a structure, so it helped my brain be less stressed out because my brain is incapable of deciding what's important and what's not important. So
Mhm.
everything feels important and everything feels a priority, and then I can't decide. So my brain goes into procrastination and panic mode if there's nothing to help me out. So when I had my daughters and then my son was there, the priority was to get my daughter in school, so she had to eat, she had to do this, she had to do that. So I knew the routine and the way to get there. But when I
Mhm.
had my first daughter, nothing was there. It was
Yeah.
just. And then when you also, I think that when you get out of a work time,
Mhm.
you get pregnant, you're working, and then you have no schedule because you're not working. That's that's really hard for ADHD. Why should I even put on clothes? If I have no reason.
Yeah. And and just like you said, if there's no structure, right? Like it's almost impossible to get things done. So we
It's
have
hard.
to kind of put our own structure in
Yep.
place to
Yep.
be able to make it work. Because we already know, like any kind of symptoms we have as new moms affects our ADHD.
The symptoms are going to get higher because you're tired. Sleep deprivation that has a hard impact on your ADHD. Not having any exercise, your way of eating, like a lot of wellness behaviors have impact on the ADHD, which usually get thrown out of the window when you're a new mom. Not because you don't
Mhm.
want to, but because you're feeling so overwhelmed that these are the stuff that get all you think about is the wellness of the baby, and you don't think about yours. So your ADHD symptoms get out of control. And then when they
Mhm.
get out of control, it gets even harder and harder and harder to get back to a routine, a structure, and that will lessen your symptoms. It's really hard. It's a vicious cycle.
Yep. Yeah, so what would you recommend for so we talked about structure, having
Yep.
structure in place. What else would you recommend for moms, like new moms that have ADHD, that are thinking, do I really have ADHD or is it just me being a mom? Or maybe before you say what you recommend, how would you answer that question? Is it really ADHD or is my life just being a mom?
Well, ADHD is something that you live all your life. It's not something that just comes up as a mom. So y- I think that you have to look at your whole life. Like, how was it before? Like, how because ADHD is not an attention problem; it's a self-regulation problem. So we have a hard
Mm-hmm.
time self-regulating our emotions, our attention, our behaviors, our hyper focus. We have a hard time with that. So if you
Mm-hmm.
have ADHD, it would have shown up before, but in a different way, like probably lesser and less debilitating. That's how you say that. Less
Mm-hmm.
less impactful.
Less debilitating. Yep.
Yes, it would have shown up before. Like I said, when before I had my kids. Now that I know I have ADHD and I look at my life, I realize, oh my gosh, like it showed up in so many ways in my life. I had a hard time keeping friends. I had a hard time. I was throwing kind of tantrums at my husband even before I had kids because I got so dysregulated. I have a hard time keeping a job. I have a hard time going through school because I it was so boring and so long. So I think that it showed up before, but also ADHD is not going to go away. So it's not just a season of life that if, like a mommy brain, like what they say, mommy brain. Like my mommy brain is going to go away if you get some sleep, if you get yeah, some sleep and some structure, but ADHD is not going to go away. It's going to be better, but it's not going to go away. But how do you see that? What's the difference between mommy brain and ADHD brain for you?
So I think for me, when I think of like mommy brain and ADHD brain, first of all, I see your AG, it goes back to the beginning, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Before you became a mom, were you having the symptoms when you were younger, right? Like one of the main criteria I think of is where you were younger, were you spacey? Did they always say, "Oh, you're too dreamy"? Some
yeah.
some girls they say, "Oh, you were very talkative." Some girls they say, "Oh, she's very dreamy." Like there's so many things that we do now that if we look back, now
Hmm.
that we know we have ADHD, we could be like, "Oh my gosh, yes, it was there." If that's present, then it's probably ADHD.
Yeah, that's what I
But
said.
yeah, yeah. But if you are here and you're like, "Oh, I'm just tired, then I slept today, and now I can be intentional, I could get all my stuff done." It's probably not ADHD. It just means you need rest. And we all need rest, right? Some
Yeah.
I had this one friend who was like, with I just everybody's a little ADHD. I don't like when people say that. Everybody has a little bit of ADHD, and I'm like, I think that's oversimplifying it, right? She was like, "Well, when I don't sleep, I have ADHD." I said, "No, when you don't sleep, you you're right."
Sorry.
I was like, "No, when you don't sleep, you're tired and your brain is foggy. That's different from someone who is well rested and still have those symptoms. Like you could
Well,
be totally well rested and have ADHD symptoms if you have ADHD. It's not only when you're tired you have it, but I just think that but as a mother, every symptom you have is just now magnified, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I feel like with us women, we're good at masking our symptoms, right? Growing up,
yes,
we come
yes.
up with different things to help mask it. And then as soon as we have kids, it's hard to mask. So it just shows up.
Well, basically, it's because all your resources, all the extra resources that you had before you had kids, actually, were directed at masking and people pleasing because we're people pleasers here,
Mhm,
perfectionists and people pleasers. So everything that you like, every all of your resources, like you were putting it towards that, and now your kid is draining all your resources, so you don't have anything left to to be capable of managing the symptoms so that the outside world won't notice it.
Yeah.
It's really hard. And you said before that your friend said that she had
She
ADHD-ish,
said, I have
or
a little bit of
yeah.
ADHD. You know, like
But
you hear people say that, you're like,
well, what I say that when I have people saying that to me, I reframe them by saying ADHD is not. Yes, I understand that everybody has experienced some sort of the symptoms, because ADHD is like everybody, but way more.
hmm
Like we have way more. Like we're incapable of self-regulating. So sometimes, yes, I understand that neurotypical are having a hard time self-regulating, but us, it's all the time. Like it's always a struggle. It's not something that is going to go away. We
hmm
have a hard time focusing. It's always going to be like that. Like it's not. Yes, some meds can help. Yes, structure and help from outside people can help, but it's always going to be something that you're going to have to find ways to manage. It's not a it's not a one-time shot deal and then like get it done. Like it's
hmm
not like that. It's always going to be there. But as many as you have things going on in your life and responsibilities, the harder it's going to get, because it's hard. Like managing all those responsibilities is really hard, and having ADHD is having a hard time deciding which one is important, which one is not important. Is it really important that your baby gets cloth diapers? Not that much. He's going to survive this baby phase. If you want to do it, it's on yours, but it's not like, don't go into perfectionist mode for that. I was like that. I was this mom that needed my baby to have everything super healthy, perfect. But it cost me to be completely disorganized. Like, cost me to get super sick and to depression mode and everything, because I couldn't keep it. My expectations of myself were so high, I couldn't keep it. Like it was way too hard.
So if there's a mom that's listening and it's like, you know what, I think I may have ADHD. What would be beside them getting structure and, you know, try not to be a perfectionist, getting enough rest, like trying to avoid all the symptoms that exacerbate ADHD.
Yeah.
What recommendation would you have them do? Let's say they've never been diagnosed, they're listening to us, they're like, oh, maybe I may have ADHD. What would you
Well,
have them do?
first of all, learning helps a lot. Learning about ADHD helps a lot.
Mhm.
Finding, like, reaching out. I think it would be a great idea to reach out either to you, Lola, or to someone who knows ADHD and who can help them out. There's a lot of also there hold on, I'm losing my word. A community. Yeah. That you can have a community that helps you understand your ADHD, because you're not alone. When before I knew I had ADHD, I felt broke. I thought I was the only one on this earth, this broken, this problematic, and I was like, what is going on with me? And when I realized I had ADHD and I reached out and I learned about it and I reached out to other people, I realized I wasn't the only one living through this. Like, I wasn't the only one having a hard time managing my money, or like overspending on Amazon, but not once. It's like every damn day overspending on Amazon, and having a hard time, like, going into hyper focus mode, like having 1 or 2 weeks having a super healthy meal plan and then just throwing it out of the trash, and then going back to the old ways, and doing this so many times. So finding other people and a proper help is, even if you don't want to get diagnosed, is going to help you a lot, just to um just to be okay with the fact that you are like this, and it's not bad, it's just different. So having you, I think that breaking the cycle of being um how do you say that? Being the cycle of being of feeling ashamed and guilty and hiding everything, breaking that cycle and being finding people that are like you, that who you can talk about and say, I live this. Is it normal? Why do I live this? And finding out that you're like 11% of the population, which makes a lot of people. So we can say that it's kind of normal. Like for
Mhm.
11%, you are normal and you have capacities.
Yeah.
You just need to get some help so that the capacities and the yeah, the capacities that you
Mhm.
have are going to show up because we have
Right.
tremendous creativity. We have an open heart. We are people we like to learn. We're learners. We're like
Mhm.
you need to let yourself be an ADHD. And that means that you need to have you have the right to change your mind because you're going to change your mind so many times, and that's all right. You just have to decide, where do you let yourself change your mind?
Right. And I think with a lot of moms, especially, they have this thing more of like a shame, right?
Yeah,
Um, with ADHD, there's so much shame
I
associated with
know.
it. And even for me, right, even though I didn't like outwardly think I was hiding my ADHD, but I just never told anybody about it. But it wasn't until one time I told somebody and they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're a doctor, you have ADHD. That means I'm gonna be okay. Like if you
Mm-hmm.
did it, then I can do it too." So I try to encourage people to try to share their story as much as possible because you don't know who else you could be helping. Another thing with moms is like we all want to be the perfect mom, right?
Yeah.
So with ADHD, a lot of moms that have ADHD are like, "Oh, I suck as a mom and this as a mom," but you're amazing. You're empathetic, you're loving. Like focus on the positives
Yeah.
of ADHD. So I mean, to summarize everything we've said today is like, yes, mommy brain, there's ADHD brain, right? The number one thing is that your symptoms, a lot of times you had it way, way, way before you had kids.
Yeah.
You just maxed it, and now you have kids. It's difficult to continue the masking, and now it's more obvious than not,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, and then the second thing we talked about is the need for awareness. You need to be aware of the diagnosis, learn about the diagnosis. It's so amazing now. There's so many podcasts, including podcasts like this, that
Yep.
talks about ADHD and how it helps you. And you can also reach out to people, right? If you don't get anything from the podcast today, know that you can join a community and just get to know ADHD from peripheral. Everybody kind of starts that way, right? You find out you have ADHD and we dive deep into hyperfocus mode trying to learn about it. I feel like almost everybody goes through that. It's very important you do that. So
Well,
besides all, go ahead.
no, well, I think that we all do this because it's like, finally,
Right.
how I work. Like, finally, I'm learning about why the hell am I doing this and why does it show up like that. And what I when throughout my journey of ADHD, what I realized is so many so many of my behaviors are related to ADHD. Like even stuff I didn't think about, because the problem with the DSM and the
Mhm.
clinical way of evaluating ADHD is really actually just plain words like, are you someone who's always late? I am never ever late. Never late. But I always go into like waiting mode. I can be in waiting mode for 6 hours. My brain is gonna go, oh, we need to be on time at 4 o'clock. Okay, so we're not gonna do anything. We don't have time to do anything. So I get stuck in there. And that's time problem. That's I have a hard time evaluating time. So it doesn't show up always the way it's written in the book. But I didn't know that before. Like, it's my husband who made me realize, do
Mm-hmm.
you really realize that you go in waiting mode? I thought I was actually procrastinating. And he's like, no, you're not procrastinating. You're in waiting mode. You're waiting to be on time for that appointment. But I can wait for hours, which is a problem, you know?
Right,
It's a
right.
real problem. But finding other people and talking about it makes you realize that it's way beyond the technical way of describing the symptoms of ADHD. It's everywhere in your life. Like, everything is affected by ADHD. So I that's what I really liked the most about finding out about my ADHD is, wow, that's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm doing that. And yeah. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, 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 no. I think you make some great points. I was just gonna say that with everything that you said, like I feel like you hit the nail on the head.
Mm,
Like absolutely. But when it's all said and done, what I want people to take out of this is one, don't be ashamed, like you
mm,
said. Join a community. There's nothing to be ashamed of. You are not broken.
nope,
You're not a bad mother.
nope,
ADHD is not a death sentence. It's
nope.
just something you have. And I tell people that the more they learn to appreciate and love their ADHD, the better they would actually do with it. Don't try to fight it. Just learn and learn the strategies that work with it. Okay?
Yes, yes.
So,
100% with you.
so n- we always try to keep this episode short because as you know, our listeners have ADHD. So, is there any last thing you wanted to talk about to help wrap up this episode?
Uh, I would say don't stay alone. Reach out. Really, girl, go and get help. By get help, I don't mean go necessarily to a psychotherapist, but I mean find people, find coaches who are gonna help you manage this brain, this wonderful brain that you have so much power in you.
Mhm.
You just need to learn how to use it. It's like, I know it's Dr. Holloway that says that we have a fire Ferrari brain with no brakes or probably like bicycle brakes. You
With
need to, yeah,
Ferrari brains with bicycle brakes.
there you go. So you need to learn how to use your brakes and how to make them stronger, but also how to use your Ferrari because it's a wonderful brain. So when you learn how to use it, you can make a lot of stuff. You can become the person you want to become. It's just that you need to learn how to use it, how to manage it, how to make it work. And
Right,
that goes through like learning about ADHD, finding someone who's going to help you see what you're like from outside what you're actually doing because when we're just on ourselves it's hard. It's really hard. So finding exterior help helps a lot.
absolutely. And one other thing I will say before we round up is in addition to exterior help is delegation, delegation,
Oh yeah,
delegation.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah. But
cannot do it all.
but I mean, well, for me, finding help it means that ask your mom to cook you meals, like,
Mhm.
and put it in the freezer. Ask, like, get a cleaning person to clean your house. Lower your expectations about the fact that your kid needs to be in cloth diapers if that's your thing. You know, allow yourself to delegate and to get into. uh, Stop being perfectionist, mom.
Mhm.
Stop being perfectionist. Like, your baby is gonna be okay if it's not perfect, you know,
All
and
your
it doesn't
baby
have to
needs
be.
is you, just your milk
Yes,
and your love. That's it.
yes, but I mean, get real concrete help, like not someone who's gonna take care of the baby while you're cleaning your house. That's not a good way of helping your ADHD brain. Get some rest and have someone do the stuff for you. someone who cooks for you, someone who cleans for you, someone who, like, get some help. That's what I mean. Get some help for your ADHD, but get some physical help for the tasks that are hard for you to do right now because you're into, like, it's you're learning how to be a mom. It's very hard.
Yeah, learning not to be a mom and not to be ADHD at the same time can be difficult,
Yes.
but you can do it, okay?
Yes.
So, Emily, it's been so amazing talking to you on the show today. I want people to learn a lot about you.
My pleasure.
Oh, merci, merci beaucoup, mon ami. Uh,
My pleasure.
how can people get a hold of you?
I actually am in French, so if you wanna reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram. It's called Amelie. It's my name. Are you gonna put it down on the podcast?
Yes, I will
Okay,
put
so
it
because
in
my
the
name
show
is
notes.
it's hard to spell for you guys. I have also a website that where you can reach out at me, and I have a Facebook, Facebook where I also had a community. So if you speak French, I have a community that's called Mommy Has ADHD in French. So Maman a ADHD, which is the French way of saying it. So, and I'm going for English also this year because, like, I don't know,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. So thank you guys so much. I really want you to check out Emily. I'll put all her information in the show note. Thank you for joining us for another amazing episode of LollieTasking with ADHD. Like I said, all the information will be in the show notes. If you want to get in touch with Emily, she'll be glad to talk to you about all things motherhood and ADHD. She also has a podcast in French, but
Yeah.
which says it's Mother I Have ADHD, right?
Yeah, in
Mama, I
French.
have ADHD. And I always wish I could speak French. I could get on her podcast too. But don't forget to leave us
A
don't forget to
review.
leave us a review on our show. Until next time, you can do it too with some planning, a little bit of balance, and a dash of determination. This is LollieTasking.
Thanks for hanging out with us on another episode of LollieTasking with ADHD. If you like what you've heard today, I would love for you to click the subscribe button, rate, and leave a great review, in addition to sharing with your friends. Your review allows visibility and also allows other amazing women to find this podcast. Also, if you have any questions or topics you would like for us to discuss, please contact me via direct message on Instagram at LollieTasker or email us at hello@lollytasking.com. Till next time, this is LollieTasking with ADHD.